and good evening. This is Dr. D, and this is Open to Possibilities. And tonight my talk is going to be on, do you know who you are? Or who are you? But before we get into tonight's talk, let's take a deep breath. Let's bring our mind, bring our heart, bring our consciousness into one place. Let us just quieten our monkey mind. The Buddha calls it the monkey mind, jumping from limb to limb, jumping everywhere. So let's quiet that monkey mind with a couple of deep breaths. Breathe deeply, peace, and exhale any anxiety, any difficulties, any frustration. And for the next few moments, let's be open and willing to see things differently. And so it is. So it is. You know, from the beginning of time, we're always wanting to know, find out, where'd humans come from? What are humans made out of? I mean, flesh, we feel, and what actually triggered the human and sparked the human existence? Now, I know we're told in Genesis, if you go through the Christian Bible, that we're made out of dirt, and that God, not being a human figure, but an energetic figure, breathed the essence of who God was into that dirt container, and it became a living soul. So what exactly is the soul? And if in fact this God breathed the essence of who they are into that human container, then that makes God the greatest stem cell that ever lived, because we have that essence within inside of us constantly and all the time. And that explains why when Jesus the Christ meaning enlightened one, said, I'm going to leave the earth, and when I go, greater things than this shall you do. Wait a minute. Greater things than feeding the 5,000, greater things than healing the leper, greater things than this shall you do? Well, are you doing those things? Why not? If the promise is that we can do these greater things. So I think it's going back to square one on our understanding of what the essence is and what we are and what we're made out of. Now, something you may not know, or you may know, I've also done the study of quantum physics, and I understand that there is not one single thing that is by itself, but everything is made up of something else. Depending upon the atoms and the molecules and the nature of what it is, the functionality becomes something different. Now, nearly all the elements in the human body are made up in a star and a star. And they've come through several supernovas, okay? Most of the elements in our human body were formed in stars. And we kind of think scientifically that that happened maybe 13 or 14 billion years ago. And science call it the Big Bang Theory. Now, the Big Bang Theory doesn't discount the biblical theory, because you see in Genesis, it talks about the void. There was a void. So in the Big Bang Theory, there would have been a void, and there had to be a cooling off period of several thousands of years from the heat and all the elements that were involved in the bang. So thus the void was there. But around 99% of the human mass consists of oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Those are all the elements that make stars. In other words, we have the elements and could be made up as stardust, which hence would be the earthen vessel. So in understanding this, science doesn't contradict biblical scripture. Science will support spirituality, but science will not always support religiosity and the religious teachings that we've been taught at different times. For instance, God is not a man and not a woman. The Bible says God is not a man that he should lie. So God is not a man, God is not a woman. What would we say? God is transgender? That God goes beyond any gender? And that being so, then we see God in a different way, but we call God male. And why is that? Well, one of the reasons is because energy can never be destroyed. Energy can only transfer from one state to another state, or energy can only be invented in a different form, in a different way. So this God energy, this creator, this source energy, the God energy is a penetrative kind of energy, where Mother Earth is a nurturing energy. So the God energy penetrates the universe or the Mother Earth. Thus we end up with the essence of the male energy, or that procreating energy. Now, we are told that in Genesis, that God, this creative energy, created mankind, and when it said created them male and female, actually the original says created mankind. It doesn't go into genders. And we're told that when this creation happened, that when God breathed the essence of who and what God was, that creative energy, that mankind became a living soul. But what's a soul? What is a soul? Well, let's put it in a nutshell. Your soul is immaterial essence of totally who you are on a human level. Sounds like a lot, right? Your soul is your authentic self. It's the authentic who you are at the core of your being, the core of your energy. A soul is the whole of your energy, and it's the unique expression of the divine, which we call spirit. And your soul actually can be thought of as spirit embodied. In other words, God, spirit, being embodied. That's your soul. And your soul, in reality, never runs away or gets lost. But you can lose connection with your soul due to traumas and inner wounds. In other words, your soul, that authentic self, that God self, is always there. That creative self. It's like the sun and the moon, it's always there. It can just be obscured sometimes. You know how that if you look out, sometimes an apartment complex with a high rise is obscuring a view, or there's lots of trees that are obscuring a view. Well, your thoughts, your beliefs, and traumas can obscure the connection and block the connection to your soul or your authentic self or your God self. We need to move through the emotional, the mental, the physical, and all of the different pollution that we've experienced in our lives so that we can reconnect with our soul, that God consciousness. And it's not always easy because we've gotten used to living in a certain state. And when you begin to walk a spiritual path in search of something more, it's not a comfortable path. And you're going to find that people around you prefer comfort, and they prefer the complacency of just being mediocre. I want to ask you a question. Are you sick of feeling alone? And are you sick of feeling depressed? What about feeling empty inside? The heart is the doorway to the soul. And by diving into the heart, we have direct access to who we really are. And this journey begins to be a journey, and it's an awakening to the individuality of who we are. It's an awakening, a reconnecting with that divinity that is within us. It's a reconnecting that we begin to operate from a place of a very loving presence. So our ego mind, which is a self-mind and a selfish mind, does not come from that authentic place. That ego mind, if you're watching this, is going to say to you, wow, she really believes what she's saying on there, doesn't she? But your authentic mind is going to say, why don't you listen to what she's saying? Why don't you listen and begin to be in touch with your soul, that part of you that is alive, that part of you that brings purpose, that part of you that brings peace. You don't have a soul, you are a soul. And mankind became a living soul, a living personality, a living emotion. You became that soul. So where does this soul live? Let me tell you what I do sometimes. I'll stand in the bathroom and I'll look in the mirror and I'll look eyeball to eyeball, just like I'm looking at you right now. And I say, how you doing in there? How you doing? Do you feel peace? Do you feel love? Do you feel joy? Do you feel contentment? Are you happy in there? Because inside is who we really are. And the outside is an expression that we're giving to the inside and the outside. And some of us have never come from the inside out. So we're so caught up on the outside that we think that's all there is. But you see, when I make connection with the soul, I can stand here And I can be very quiet, and I can listen, I can meditate, and there can be all sorts of chaos going on out here that I don't have to be affected by if I have done the work to begin to heal the trauma or the inner wounds. The trauma sometimes that we have in our life is so intense that we've completely lost that connection to our soul. And often it's hidden and it's barricaded behind a wall of rage, a wall of hatred, a wall of pain, a wall of grief, a wall of toxic beliefs. There is a line from the Course in Miracles, and it says this, it says, our job is not to seek for love, but our job is to remove all blockages and barriers that keep us from knowing and giving and receiving love. And when we begin to remove the blockages and the barriers, then inside of us begins to explode to the outside of us in ways of love. I say this quite often, that religion teaches you to evolve. You know, if I say so many Hail Marys, if I crawl on the glass, if I go to church every single Sunday, if I do this, and this, then I get to this level. Well, spirituality teaches us that as we remove these things, that we unfold. We unfold. We remove these barriers of resentment. We remove these barriers of hatred. We remove these barriers of unforgiveness. And as we do, then we begin to unfold into peace, into happiness, into gratitude. The work isn't in doing the unfolding. The work is in getting rid of the traumas, getting rid of the grief, getting rid of the pain. You know that saying, misery loves company? All of these things, the trauma, the pain, and the toxic beliefs, they love company. They want to hang on to each other. That is their security. They gather people around them, community. When you begin to live from the heart, and the heart scientifically has a mind, just like our brain here has a mind. And there's more atoms, neutrons that go from the heart here to here than from here to here. But so often we think from here and we don't touch here. And the mind in our head will tell you that you are a body and it won't touch the soul. Because the moment that you realize that you come from a soul place, then it's all over. It is all over for all of the other things that we've been taught. You say, my soul never gets lost. I've just lost a connection to it. Dear God, dear divine, dear creator, help me to see things differently. Help me to be open so I can see things differently. And as we begin to come from a spiritual perspective, we begin to see things in a different dimensions. Do you know my little Minnie? She can hear sounds at higher pitches than I do. You who have dogs, you understand that. So there are various levels of frequencies and dimensions. And as we begin to tune in to the soul of who we are, to surrender to the soul, we begin to raise that vibration and frequency, we begin to turn the channel. Turn the channel in your life. And you begin to light up your life. You begin to live in your authenticity. So, the soul having no gender. It really doesn't make any difference what gender you are on the outside or what gender you're presenting, unless you feel that's not your authentic self. Then change it up. You have the creative power to do so. Change it up. Oh, no, but I can't because religion teaches such and such and such and such. Spirituality teaches that you can be whoever you want to be, as long as you're coming from a place of love, acceptance, forgiveness. Because our purpose here on the planet is to be the expression of love on the planet, be the expression of God on the planet. And often I say, God of many names, God of many names. Show me the path that I am to walk. Show me the goodness that I am to be. Let me be the expression of your love. The two big words in our English language are I am, and then what follows it. I am love, sharing who I am. See the power in that? Words have power. Who are you? Who are you? When you say, oh, I'm an addict. Well, the universe principle is you keep yourself in that addiction because you see yourself as an addict. What would happen if you just changed the verbiage a little and you said, I am a person that uses drugs. I am a person that gambles. Rather than I am whatever that I am an addict. I'll always be an addict. That's the mentality. So when we get in contact with our soul, we change our thinking. We change our verbiage. We change our way of living, our way of walking. We begin to realize that energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one state to another. So take that negative energy and begin to transform it. Be transformed. Now, the Bible says we're transformed by the renewing of our mind. The thinking that got you in the situation that you're in cannot be the same thinking that's going to get you out. But I will say this to you. If you are in a problem, the solution is in that problem, that you can resolve it or not far from that problem. Until next Thursday, this is Reverend D, and I'll be talking to you next Thursday about another controversial thought or something else that's on my mind. Have a great day.